Episode 53 of the Fired Coaches podcast. Special guest, get it going back here again with Coach Tim Brewster, who spent many years in the NFL, college football, high school, a little bit of everything. Head coach, assistant coach, interim coach. Some of the stuff that I was researching, it's always fun to kind of dive into guests before they get on and just the different stories and things like that that I want to ask you questions on. So, Coach Brewster, I couldn't be more than thrilled to have you on tonight and appreciate you sincerely taking the time out of your day to sit down and chat.
Marcus, I'm thrilled to death to be here with you and just share my 41 years of experience in this amazing profession of football coaching. Man, I'm so blessed, and this is going to be fun. Let's go, man. Let's dive in. Let's
Yeah,
let's let's help some guys, man. Let's go.
that's what it's about. That's what it's about. So I guess I want to first start off with you going back to Illinois. And I think it's interesting in the coaching world. You see so many coaches who maybe weren't successful athletes that become successful coaches. Maybe because they saw it from the back seat of the bench, they saw everything in front of them. You were a good player at Illinois, and obviously you've been known for your acumen in the tight end world. How did that all come about when the playing career ended? NFL dreams fell short. How did that kick into like gear? Like I want to go coach.
Yeah, no question about it, Marcus. I love football, and I always say, I tell my players, if you love football, football will love you back. Okay, I love ball, and I couldn't comprehend seeing myself doing something other than being involved in football. And I wanted to play as an NFL player for as long as I could. I was with three different teams. I was a very marginal NFL player. It wasn't my path, but I knew I was with the Indianapolis Colts, and I was having a great camp and everything's going good. And you know what? I just said to myself, you know what? This is an amazing opportunity for me to step away from playing the game and get into coaching the game. And I knew it was something I wanted to do. If you can't play the game, the next best thing is to coach the game. And Lord have mercy, I went back and I talked to Mike White. I talked to Max McCartney. They were coaches of mine at the University of Illinois. They reached out to Leon Burtonette at Purdue University, and I began, my journey as a coach, man. I mean, as a GA at Purdue, and I just loved every second of it. I mean, it was just so amazing, and being able to do it as to make my living as a football coach, and I was it was just an amazing year. My first year at Purdue, I was with one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Okay, and I've been around a bunch of them. The greatest player I've been on the field with was Lawrence Taylor.
Sure.
Okay, I was trying to make the New York Giants blocking Lawrence Taylor every day. And he'd stay out all night long. He'd come straight to practice and whip everybody's ass on the field. Okay. It was just amazing. But anyhow, like I said, my experience, Rod Woodson. Okay. I was with Rod Woodson at Purdue. Okay. One of the greatest football,
Hard nosed dude.
experiences that I've ever been part of. We played Indiana in the old Oaken Bucket. Okay. Every year you're going to play those guys, and Rod played every single play of the game, every special teams play,
Really.
every offensive play, every defense. He rushed for over 140 yards, but most importantly, he blocked the game-winning field goal that Indiana tried to kick to beat us. I mean, Rod Woodson. Hell, Kevin Sumlin was on that team. He was a linebacker for us, a middle linebacker for us.
Sure.
So again, that began my journey, at Purdue, and really, really enjoyed all aspects of it.
Do
It
you,
was,
do you want to touch on the story I was reading up about Bear Bryant?
oh
And
yeah.
that was the end of your playing career, correct?
It really was. And so in 1982, we played in the Liberty Bowl, University of Illinois against Alabama. And it just so happened to be Coach Bryant's last game as a coach. Okay. I remember it so vividly. I walked out of in the Liberty Bowl, in Memphis, Tennessee, cold night, freezing night. And I came out of the tunnel and there was Coach Bryant in his legendary stance, leaning against the goalpost. He had a hood on, big, warm winter jacket, fur around it, and he's leaning against the goalpost. But what you're referring to is earlier in the week, I had an opportunity at one of the functions we were at to spend some time with Coach Bryant. And I told Coach Bryant that I wanted to coach, and he said to me, he said, Coach Brewster, go be a high school coach. Go learn the game as a high school coach. And, it's going to serve you well. It's going to, and I said, Coach, I really appreciate you. And, so the opportunity came up for me to be, after 1 year, Leon Burnett was the head coach at Purdue. After 1 year at Purdue, Coach Burnett got let go. And so, I was looking I got the head coaching job at Lafayette Central Catholic High School. We had 97 students in 4 grades.
Oh, wow.
90, I taught government, I taught economics. I mean, it was on me and my wife. I mean, I cut the grass, I hauled the hose, watered the fields. I mean, we did, and we washed the uniforms after the games on Friday nights. My wife coached the cheerleaders. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. I mean, I wouldn't give it up for anything. I called every offensive play. I called every defense. I set the special teams. I did everything we won games. We had an amazing experience. And I really thank, Coach Bryant for, saying to me, listen, because a lot of guys, there's so many great high school coaches out there. It ain't even funny. Okay. All these I've coached in college. I've coached in the NFL. I've been, I've, and these guys, there's so many great high school coaches. And I have so much admiration for the high school coach today,
What did that do for you? I mean, do you think that it was such a foundational piece being at a school where you were doing literally everything, cutting the grass, lining the field?
Yeah.
Do you think that set the tone for your coaching career moving forward from there?
No, 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 no question. And I didn't I mean, I came up the hard way. I like to say I came up from the basement. Okay. There's a lot of guys that were born on third base and they thought they hit a triple.
Right.
Okay. Coach Brew didn't think, I mean, I had worked hard. I loved the opportunity I had at Lafayette Central Catholic High School. Football is a grind. It's all about the grind, man. And those that grind it out, those that can withstand the grind and every single day, just like, I mean, I leave at 5 in the morning and I come home at 11:30 at night and do it all again the next day, and it just, it's tough. It's hard. It's really hard on families. I mean, if you're going to be a football coach, you better understand, and particularly as you elevate in the profession, you better understand how hard it is, to be a football coach because, and all I say is this, I say to the young coaches, include your wife. Include your wife. Don't exclude. Include your wife in what you're doing, man, and make her feel like she's a part of the success that you're having because it is. It's my wife. Okay, so I mean, I could tell you a story. I got in a car. I was in Lafayette, Indiana, and I drove my pickup truck to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I walked in on Mac Brown. Mac Brown didn't know Tim Brewster. He knew nothing about me. But I wanted to get back. I wanted to coach in college football. I wanted to take a shot. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I walked in And Mac Brown's secretary looked at me and she said, you know, who are you? Can I help you? And I said, I'm Tim Brewster and I'm here to see Coach Brown. I'd love to talk to him. He said, well, he's awful busy, and I sat for 2.5 hours. For 2.5 hours, I sat and hoped that Coach Brown would come out and give me some time and talk with me. And you know what? Out of the goodness of his heart, he did. He came out and he said, "What am I doing here? What are you doing here? What do you know?" I mean, and I played in the Big Ten. I was an all Big Ten tight end. I knew a little, but I just said to Coach Brown, I said, Coach, I want to coach college football in the worst way. I want to and I want to coach it here with the North Carolina Tar Heels. I got my Tar Heel sweatshirt on right here, right now. I love it. I live in Pittsburgh, North Carolina right now.
But why North Carolina and Mac Brown?
Just because I mean, my wife and I, we had this thing about the state of North Carolina. It's a beautiful place. It's a wonderful place to raise a family. You got to understand now. I had a wife and 2 kids, okay, when I was in Lafayette, Indiana, and I had a third one on the way as we went down to North Carolina. But I said to Mac Brown, I said, Coach, I want to work for free. And he said, do you understand what the heck you're talking about? You're going to work for free? You have a wife and 2 kids with a third one on the way. And I said, I have the world's greatest wife. I mean, she was working for FedEx at the time. And, she said, listen, to allow you to go do what you want to do, I'll just keep grinding away.
Wow.
I just, it's amazing. And I just, and Coach Brown said to me, he said, this is so crazy. He said, get in your truck, go back to Indiana. He said, I'll think about this, but don't get your hopes up,
Yeah.
you know? And like 3, 4 days later, he called me up and he said, do you know exactly what a volunteer means? And I said, yes, sir. I said, I'll be the first one in the building. I'll be the last one to leave, and I won't ask you for a nickel. I won't ask you for a hamburger. I won't ask you for, and he said, you got it. He said, that's what being a volunteer is. And Marcus, I'm gonna tell you what, man, that's what it was. I mean,
So what was your role then that first year as an unpaid
so
guy?
so my first year, I really helped with the tight ends. Okay, I helped Terry Lewis with the tight ends and helped him. I said, listen, if I need to go get donuts, if I need to go wash your car, if I needed whatever I need to do to validate my existence, I'm in it. I'm doing it. And I beat everyone into the building. I left. I was the last one to leave. I mean, Marcus, it was just. I'm gonna tell you what. Now I was steadfast. Now, I mean, I was steadfast in exactly. I said, I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna do this for my family, and I'll be darned. After the first year was over, Coach called me in his office and he said, I'm gonna make a change. I want to make you a full-time assistant coach. And I mean, tears were in my eyes. And I mean, coming home after, and telling my wife that, honey, I mean,
You bet on yourself, right? You bet on your family and everything.
I
Yeah.
bet on myself and I bet on my wife.
Yeah.
Bet on myself and I bet on my wife, and that was a win-win, man. And because I was not going to lose, and I knew my wife is just I met my wife in the first grade. We've been married now 42 years. I mean,
Congrats.
I'm blessed to have, I mean, this is team right here, man.
Yeah.
And that's what I want all these guys to know out there, that like, you know, love your wife and honor your wife and be thankful for what she's doing for you and allowing you. And my wife allowed me to make, our dreams as a family come true.
That's awesome. That's great. I love to hear that. Not to jump further ahead in the process here of going through, your experiences, but I do think it's kind of interesting, again, coaching 12 years myself, I think it's always interesting to see what a young man's like when he's in college and then when he grows up. And I know when you were at North Carolina, Dre Bly was a player there. And then when you came back to North Carolina years later, right before COVID with Coach Brown, Dre Bly's on staff there too. So what do you notice? And again, you probably have countless examples of that, of guys you've run into as players that ran into coaches. But can you share some examples of people that you
Well,
see that where they went from a player to growing into an adult?
sure. I mean, Dre Bly is, I mean, we had a brotherhood. We had a family at the University of North Carolina with our players and the relationship with the coaches and Dre was a guy that obviously I loved to death and I was instrumental. I was coaching at Texas A&M and Coach Brown contacted me about coming back to North Carolina, helping him build the program back to where we had it. And we from 1988 to 1998, we had unprecedented success at North Carolina. We had more NFL draft picks than any school in America.
Really?
Okay. More first round draft picks than any school. It was absolutely phenomenal. And it just so happened that one of our best players at that time was Dre Bly. And so I was instrumental when I sat and talked to Coach Brown about putting the staff together is I thought that Dre would do a great job of coaching the corners and being part of the secondary, being part of our defense. He'd do a great job at recruiting, tremendous personality contacts in Tidewater, in the Virginia area. And it all came to fruition, because he did do a wonderful job. He did a great job. And Dre, to this day, he's coaching for the New York Jets right now, and it's based on the experiences he had with us at North Carolina, learning how to coach.
Right.
Because the first thing you learn as a player, okay, that wants to get into coaching is once you know nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
amen.
nothing. Okay. You're absolutely frigid when somebody says, would you get up on the board and draw this up? Would you explain to me Tampa 2 coverage, how we're going to run the gap scheme, how we're going to run counter, and it's just, and so it's a process. It's a process, and but Dre really worked hard at becoming a football coach, at perfecting his craft, and I really took pride in my role in like pushing him along and making him understand. You know what? We're not in the NFL right now. We're not. This isn't like a game. This is hard ass work
Yep.
you know, and the only ones that are going to succeed are the ones that are committed, to the long run. And Brian Simmons is another first round draft pick at the University of North Carolina that I mean, he ended up scouting in the NFL and now he's coaching and I mean, I think he was a byproduct of what we were doing at North Carolina. Jeff Mad Dog Madden, okay, our strength coach, phenomenal. The relationships that he had with the players, the impact he had with the players, teaching them how we were going to work and how we were going to win based on our commitment, to being the best, and so yeah, there's so much. There's so much there. There's so many players that I've coached 16 tight ends to be NFL tight ends. I've coached a Hall of Fame. This summer I sat in Canton, Ohio, with
Antonio
the
Gates.
with one of the greatest tight ends to ever play. More touchdowns than any tight end. And I'm not bragging about myself. I'm bragging about Gates.
Yeah.
I'm bragging about a guy that I found hooping in Kent, Ohio,
So
at
go to that.
State.
How did that all come about? Obviously, with him being a
Yeah.
basketball guy and
I mean,
going.
so I got a tape from an agent, and he said, "Would you please watch this?" And I'm sitting there looking at this tape. I was coaching for this. I was a first year coach for the San Diego Chargers. Okay, and so I'm watching the tape and I'm looking at this big butted guy, big, strong, move guys around, hand-eye coordination. I mean, jump, explosive, run the court, and I'm fired up about this guy. Okay, he sets up a pro day. Marcus. He sets up a pro day. I was the only NFL tight end coach to show up.
At Kent State?
Four teams showed up. Four teams showed up for Antonio Gates' pro day. So I get him there, and I'm watching him, and I'm watching him hoop, and I like, and then I get him afterwards, and I'm loving the kid. I'm saying to myself, holy crap, this kid is going to be a big time player. He's going to be an NFL tight end, and I'll be darned if I tell him, I say, hey, listen, isn't your ankle hurting? Your ankle's hurting right now. Let's shut this workout down. Let's shut it. Let's shut
Get
the
out, really?
because I was done. I didn't want nobody else to see him. I didn't nobody else to get him. So I go back. I fly back to San Diego, California, and I come rushing in to Marty Schottenheimer's office, and I tell him, I say, I found the guy. I got the guy. He says to me, Brew, he said, now listen. He said, we are not going to use a draft pick on a guy that's never played college football. Okay. I said, Coach, this guy's different. We got to. He said, no, we're not going to do that. He said, Brew, I'm going to tell you what you can do is if he goes undrafted, you can sign him as an undrafted free agent. Okay. And so I'm going to tell you what I started doing. I walked out of Marty's office. I went to my office. I started calling Gates. I was calling him every single day, 2, 3 times a day. Mom, dad, boom, boom, boom,
Like
calling
you
him.
were recruiting him.
Oh, I was recruiting the crap out of him. And he's a tough guy from inner city Detroit. Dad wanted him to be the heavyweight boxing champ of the world. He trained in Kronk, He trained, in the famous gym, and so I mean, it gets to be draft day, and I'm in the building and I'm sweating my butt off. Yeah, I mean, it's Marcus, it's crazy. And the last draft pick gets called, and I call Gates, and he says, Brew. He said, there ain't I ain't going nowhere but with you. I'm going with you. You earned my trust. And I said to Gates, and I say this to every player I ever coach, okay? Don't trust me. Let me earn your trust. Let me earn you. So many coaches make the mistake. Okay, so
Expecting
many of
it.
your coaches, and they try, trust me. Well, wait a minute now. Why in the hell is that guy going to trust you? Because he don't know you.
Right.
You know, watch how I walk, watch how I move. You know, watch
Yep.
how watch how I prepare for meetings, watch how I coach you in meetings, watch how I coach you on the field, and then that'll earn your trust. And so I think that's what I did with Antonio, and it culminated in an amazing experience this summer going to Canton, Ohio, and the we're in the stadium, and he's up giving his acceptance speech, into the Hall of Fame, and he's talking about Coach Brew, and he's talking about the things that we accomplished together, the things we did together. And I mean, I had tears in my eyes, Marcus. I mean, it was just like my wife was sitting right next to me. I would have never, ever in a million years went to Canton to the Hall of Fame without my wife.
A half hour from Kent State.
Exactly, a half hour from Kent State. And so yeah, man, that was absolutely one of the huge moments. And I've had a lot, but I mean that
Would
was,
would you say that's your ultimate so far?
I mean,
I know it's
Mark,
I know it's hard to pick and like it's like picking
yeah,
choosing your
yeah.
favorite kids and
I
stuff.
mean, that was kind of like an individual thing where, it was me and Gates and me coaching Gates and me being the greatest compliment I've ever got. Let me tell you, and this is coaching right here. Okay. So, so, uh, I said to Gates, I mean, we will, it's about just how you feel about a guy and how and I said, together we're gonna get this, we're gonna do this together, we're gonna, And because what Gates said to me is he said, Coach Brew, I didn't always like you. You were hard on me. I mean, really hard on me. And, but he said, you know what? And this happened at a phone call about 2 o'clock in the morning. He said, you're the first person I want to invite to join me in Canton, Ohio. I said, holy shit.
That's
I
special.
said, I said, we're going to Canton. He said, we're going to Canton, coach.
That's
I mean,
cool.
yeah, it
That's
was
cool. That's very special. That's an awesome story. I would have never known that. And good thing you shut down the pro day.
no doubt. No doubt, Marcus. You know, I mean, it just, I just had so much belief watching a guy run, watching a guy jump, watching him, his hand-eye coordination, high point the ball, doing all those things. I mean, he was just, and,
So on that, being a basketball guy, obviously the Jimmy Grahams, the Tony Gonzalez, is that an undervalued thing, or is it literally take that right individual to be able to pull it off where maybe they
right.
haven't done it since high school, or maybe they never did it at all with football?
Well, I truly believe that the best tight ends are found on the basketball floor. I coached in the Pro Bowl in 2006. Okay. I was with the Denver Broncos. We played the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship game. We got beat, and so our reward was to go to the Pro Bowl. Well, my two tight ends in that game were Gonzalez and Gates. Okay. I mean, you talk about like what? I mean,
Two of the
you talk
best
about a
ever.
kid in the
Yep.
candy shop, kid in this, I mean, I got a picture I can, me and Gonzalez was a hooper before Gates was a hooper,
Right.
you know? And so I just truly believe that the innate skill set that you utilize as a hooper, and I was a hooper myself. I love basketball, and I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in Jersey, and I played a lot of basketball, and so I have such an appreciation for the game and and how it intertwines with football,
Sure.
and so yeah, man. I mean, and then I took it a step further, so I tried to do it again. Uh, so I go to the Denver Broncos, okay? And believe this or not, Marcus, you'll love this. I'm watching the NCAA slam dunk contest, okay? Well, the winner of the NCAA slam dunk contest was a kid named Wesley Duke,
Okay.
okay? Wesley Duke, okay? I'm talking about tomahawk.
He
I'm
was
talking about
freakishly athletic. I remember
bringing
the name. Yep.
bring it from, I mean, I'm talking about everywhere. And 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 so, I'm watching this kid and I tell Shanahan, I tell Mike, I said, Mike, I got me another one. I got me another one. And he's like, okay. He says, hey, and that's what the NFL is all about. You got to earn your trust. You got to earn your stuff. You ain't gonna, they ain't gonna, but because of what I did with Gates, Mike Shanahan, the head coach of the Broncos, was very, he was like, hey, go do your thing, man. So I signed Duke to come to the Denver Broncos, and he was about 6'6". He was about 240 pounds, athletic as craziness. I mean, and he ended up, believe it or not, I took this kid. He had never played college football, and he played, he ended up playing for us with the Denver Broncos. He made the 53. Okay.
Crazy.
And then he ended up going to the European League after that first year, and he ended up hurting his knee, and he is now a fireman in Denver, Colorado.
Really?
But but he's like he's one of my guys. I mean, I talk to him all the time, and I just there's a certain kind of guy I'm looking for, from type of dude to his, and you got to have a skill set. You got to have a great skill set. And because I really believe this, Marcus, I can impose my mindset on a player. And I'm a tough, hard-nosed, physical son of a gun, man. I don't believe no other way. Okay, there's no place for softness. There's no place for guys that are not tough guys. And so, we were able to do that with Wesley Duke, man, as well.
So before we talk Minnesota, obviously you've always had this energy, right? Like, I mean, you're
Yes,
just
sir.
go getter, go getter. Talk about, I mean, how did you develop the acumen? And I know there was a story which I saw online, don't know if true or not, you can confirm that you had maybe done car sales for a little bit before
Mhm.
you got into coaching, and you said like that was the worst job in the world.
Yeah.
Where did you learn the acumen of obviously you had the energy and the understanding of the game, but like where did you understand this knack for becoming such a recruiting guy where you've been a recruiting coordinator at so many spots? The Vince Young story where Vince Young didn't want to go to Texas at all. I mean,
Right.
all these things were like you've been able to just get in. Like obviously you talked about the trust. Is there anything else besides showing a guy and really diving into who he is and showing him what he can be and building trust, or is that really it?
No, you know what it is? It's love and passion, bro. It's love and passion. And I pour my heart and soul into my kids. Okay? I truly believe this. If a player believes that you genuinely love him, that you genuinely care about him as a human being, that you genuinely care about his family, okay? He will give you his heart and soul.
Sure.
He will give you his heart and soul. And in recruiting, okay, these guys know when I mean, I'm talking about when my passion is through the roof. I love what I do. If you love ball, ball will love you back. It will love you back. Okay. And so I just truly believe in that. And I've stood by that every step of the way, and is my passion, my energy. I love ball. I love kids. I love it. I mean, I walked into Omar Brown's house. I'm gonna just tell you the story. I walked into Omar Brown's house in York, Pennsylvania. Okay, in York, Pennsylvania. I mean, poor ass kid. I walked in and the first thing I did, I walked in. It was the middle of the winter, and he didn't have no heat in the house. They didn't have no heat in the house. Okay, so I walked over and opened the refrigerator, and there's 3 Oreo cookies in the refrigerator. That's it. Okay, and so the first thing I did, I say, hey, everybody, we're gonna get in my car. I'm gonna turn the car on. Let's get the car heated up. Let's get everybody warm. We're gonna go down to this restaurant and I'm gonna buy you. And you know what? I didn't even think twice about what was I supposed to do that? Was it? I had a family that I'm trying to gain their trust, and they're hungry.
Right.
They're hungry. Okay. And I'm gonna see to it that they had something to eat and again, like I said, it's just, kids know that I'm genuine. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm genuine. There
You
ain't
can't you
nothing
can't you can't fake it, right? I mean,
right. There ain't nothing fake about it. And if you genuinely love what you do. And my dad was a tough, hard-nosed guy and he just said, "Hey, listen, man, I don't care what you do. I don't care whether or not you're a garbage man. I don't care what you do, but be the best at it, okay? Pour your heart and soul in it and lift up." Okay, Jerry Rice. How about this story, Marcus? I'm gonna tell you this is a good one right here. So Jerry Rice finished his career with us with the Denver Broncos. And I said to Jerry one day, I said, Jerry, I said, tell me, give me a little nugget, give me a little something. And he said, okay, Brew, I got something for you. He said, true greatness has nothing to do with individual statistics. True greatness has nothing to do with individual statistics. Okay. It has everything to do with your ability to inspire others.
wow.
Ah,
Yeah, it's good.
oh, man.
What was his work ethic like in that last year?
Oh my God. I mean, so he's the first one in the building. And I'm talking about he's dressed Vint. Okay. He looks like a businessman. He got his briefcase. His slacks are pressed. He's got his, I mean, he looks like an absolute pro. Okay. And this is what he does, Marcus. Okay, so he goes and he watches tape by himself. Then he goes through the individual meetings with his position, and then he goes out to the practice field fully dressed by himself. Okay, and he'll stand in the huddle and he'll call a play to himself, and he'll go out and line up and he'll run a full speed route and no ball on the field, nothing but his running, and he will act as if he caught the ball. Okay, then he will burst after the catch. Then he will get back in the huddle, call a new play, and he'll go up the field and he'll go down the field. I mean, it's just absolutely mind blowing.
So he was way ahead of that visualization. Like that was what he was doing
Oh,
where, yeah.
oh. I mean, listen, and I coached at Jackson State. I coached at Mississippi State. I've been in the state of Mississippi. The state of Mississippi is hard. It's hard. And and he grew up in Mississippi I mean, he's one of many who were the best to ever play the game that didn't play the highest level of college football,
Right.
you know? And so I had so much admiration for Jerry. His work ethic was just it was
It's,
just absolutely
yeah,
crazy,
hard to
man.
explain.
You know,
Do you think this is kind of off topic here, but since you brought it up about, him not playing high level college football, do you think guys can still slip under the radar or develop late? Obviously NIL and transfer portals change a lot of things, but do you still think there's guys where it's like if you do your due diligence and you grind and you work at it and you leave no stone unturned, you think you can still find guys under the radar kind of thing?
no doubt about it. I think there's no question. There's so many there's so many guys out there, and just be diligent about your job. I mean, if I have an area to recruit, I'm gonna freaking I'm gonna turn up every rock. I'm gonna go, and that's what you have to do. That's what you do as a coach, and so in the state of North Carolina, I think the state of North Carolina is truly one of the most underrated states in America for high school football players. I mean, I'm we're in, I'm coaching at North Carolina, and I go down and I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I find Algie Crumpler. Algie Crumpler is one of the hardest, toughest tight ends to ever play the game. Okay. Then you cross 95 and you go over here and you're in a one lane dirt road, and you're driving along that road. And next thing you know, you're pulling up on Marcus Jones's house. And Marcus Jones is 6'6", 290 pounds. And he comes out of the front door and you say to yourself, holy crap. I mean, and this is a first round draft pick with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I mean, and so, yeah, man, it's just absolutely, you find hidden gems and you just have to unearth and work and just know that, what, and kids need to be coached, man. There's so many coaches today that really don't want to work at their craft, they want finished products. They say, oh, he'll never make it. Do you realize, Marcus, that there were some employees at the San Diego Chargers that wanted to cut Antonio Gates,
Really?
that wanted to cut him after
Because he
his
wasn't a finished product when he came in.
exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. And I just said, you know what? Fire me before you cut Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates is going to go down in history as one of the great tight ends. And I said it from the beginning, Marcus. I just had that much belief in his ability, his mindset, his work ethic, and it all played out,
The rest is history.
no doubt.
So what was that feeling like getting the Minnesota job? Obviously, you had spent a few years in the NFL as you were just talking, Chargers coaching Antonio Gates, Denver Broncos. What was that like getting that Minnesota job, first head job at the college level?
You know what? It was a dream come true. And I mean, I wanted to be a, a head coach in the worst way. And, I left the University of Texas to go to the San Diego Chargers to, to get my PhD in coaching. I wanted to be a head coach. And the opportunity came up to be the head coach at the University of Minnesota, and I'm thankful. I'm grateful. I didn't win enough games. I ended up being fired by Minnesota, but it was an amazing experience for me. Um, you think that you're ready, okay? Yeah, I was 22 years as an assistant coach. You think you're ready, and but it's like, okay, you're drinking water out of a garden hose, and the next thing you know, you're at the fire hydrant, and it just, it's tough. It really is. And um, we had some great success at Minnesota. We had some good success. We had some tough losses, but I'll forever be thankful to Joel Maturi, the athletic director at Minnesota, for giving me the opportunity to be the head coach at a story, at a Big Ten school,
Yeah.
and uh, yeah, it was playing in that conference, playing, it was wonderful, and I loved it, and I loved my players, and you know, I hope that I get the opportunity to be a head coach again. I really do, and because I think that, I've worked really hard in my career, and Mike Shanahan, Marty Schottenheimer, guys that are up for the Hall of Fame, they you know, they'll let you know that, hey, you know what? Until you've been fired, you don't know what it just like, you don't really know, and so, that's kind. And you know what, Marcus? It's okay if I don't get the opportunity to be a head coach again. It's okay. Okay. I mean, I'm one of the best recruiters in the country. I've coached my position at a very, very high level. I've been a head coach. I've been, and so, you know, we'll see what happens as we move forward. But I'm really excited. I'm fired up about this coaching cycle right here, right now. There's more movement than I've ever seen in the history of our profession,
Right.
and there's a lot of contact. There's a lot of, so it's exciting, man. I'm excited about what the future holds.
Yeah. So obviously you talked about your first season as a GA, going through that experience of obviously Coach Burnett getting let go. You have your own experience at Minnesota. You're on the staff at Charlotte, where that staff. I mean, at some point, I don't want to say obviously because every situation is completely different. Is there anything you can carry over, like when you were the interim at Charlotte, where you've seen stuff, and again, obviously experience always wins out, where you've had a lot more over the time, but with losing jobs and staff, being in flux and players, being like, what's going on? Is there any way to take nuggets from that where you can get better going through situations like that? As
Oh,
many
no,
times
no,
as you have?
no question. I was Marcus, when Mike Hill came to me and he said, I want you to be the interim head coach at Charlotte. I was so calm. I was so like, I mean, hey, I've been a head coach in the Big Ten. I've coached all over America. I've coached in the SEC at three different places. I've been, and I was so calm. I was so confident in my ability to take this moment and help these kids, because that's what it's all about. I mean, that's what it's all. It's taking the moment and helping these kids do something that they haven't been doing, and so I was thrilled to death, and I took the opportunity, and I just really I really embraced it, and we had a lot. We had great success. We beat FAU for the first time. We play UAB and we go to the wire with them and we beat them. We go 2-0. And it wasn't about me, Marcus. It was about the kids. I mean, the joy that those kids had and the excitement that those kids had about winning the football games. And then, the excitement that me and my wife and my family had, in the locker room after the game, and then we get home after the game, and it was just it was a lot of fun, man. It
That's
really
awesome.
was. Yeah.
Right before we went live, you were talking about a 200-page document.
Yeah.
And I missed what we were talking about there. Can you explain what that was?
Yeah, it was just my reflections, Marcus. It was my reflections after being fired at the head as the head coach at the University of Minnesota. And I had a place, I had a little condo down in Naples, Florida. And so I got let go and me and my wife got in a car and we drove down to Florida and so I sat day after day and just wrote my thoughts down. I put my thoughts on paper about my experience as a head coach, about my experience at the University of Minnesota. And I really I really feel good about it. And
Was it a good way to just kind of get thoughts out and just
yes, no question about it. It was like, it was my ability to exhale,
yeah.
and just say, you know what, hey, I did a lot of stuff that I did wrong. I did a lot of stuff that if I had the opportunity, I would do differently. I would do it better. But there's also a lot of things that I did good,
Right.
And as a coach, you beat yourself up so much about things that you did wrong. And, I mean, I just, let's talk about and let's, reward ourselves for the things we did right.
No, I love that. That's awesome. That's great. I mean, that's a huge nugget I think a lot of people should take away, good or bad, right? Even after a positive season, you should write out what went right and what went wrong
No,
and
no, no,
and
no, no
and
doubt.
journal and all that. I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the more recent stuff with you being at Jackson State for a year before joining, Coach Deion Sanders' staff at Colorado. And, what was that like, going to Jackson State for the year? And then obviously a lot of the staff members, some of the players come over to Colorado and just what that energy level was like,
Yeah.
with,
Well, you know what? I tell you what. So I was at the University of Florida and Dan Mullen got let go. He was part of the Fired Coaches Association. And so I was thinking about what I wanted to do and I got into conversation with Coach Prime and he asked me to come over to Jackson. I came over, I spent some time, I spent a couple of days looking at the program, talking to him, and he asked me to join the staff. Um, I joined the staff, and it was maybe one of the greatest things I've ever done in my career. I mean, I had more fun, I had more engagement, coaching at Jackson State than maybe a lot of places that I was at in my career. And Prime is just an amazing human being. Um, his life, his passion, his energy, his spirituality. You know, I mean, it just so affects kids. And what Dion did, he turned me loose. He let me be me. He let me, and there's a whole lot of video out there about me speaking to the team at Jackson State and my passion, my energy, and so I just loved every aspect of it. And then going with him to the University of Colorado was tremendous. I loved that opportunity. I coached for the Denver Broncos, so it was an area I felt very comfortable with. But most importantly, it was about Deion Sanders. It was about what he's doing to give back to the game, and that's what I tried to do too. That's what I'm trying to do is give back to the game. Let the game, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for what the game has done for me, and so what I want to do each and every day is give back to the game. And Prime let me do that. He let me be me. He let my swag be me. You know, and I just,
that's awesome.
yeah, I
Yeah,
just,
that's
I,
great. So I guess looking at your experience, right? Antonio Gates, we touched on that Hall of Fame. We didn't even touch on, I apologize, 2013 national champion, Florida State with Jimbo Fisher. You're at North Carolina multiple times in Texas with Mac Brown. I think when you're at Texas, if not, I believe I remember watching that game as a kid. Ricky Williams setting the rushing record against A&M the day after Thanksgiving. The Vince Young thing. You helped Vince Young go to Texas. Again, there's just so many different things. Is there anything that, maybe we didn't touch on that's maybe under the radar that's like a really special story player moment for you?
no, you know what, Marcus? we've covered a lot of ground. Like I said, I'm thankful to you for having me on the show, and like I said, it ain't about me. It's totally about the game of football. It's totally about how much we honor and cherish the game, and I mean, I'm so blessed. I'm a blessed and full man, having been involved in the game of football for as long as I have, and I'm going to continue. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to ride it till the wheels come off. I mean, I'm just like I said, yeah, absolutely. And so um, I think we hit a lot of it, and my deal is this. My deal now is to help young coaches, is to help coaches, make their dreams come true. Let them know that dreams can come true if you'll step outside the box, if you'll do, and I just, I mean, I feel a responsibility to uphold, this amazing game that we are part of.
Yeah. No, that's phenomenal. That's a great way to put a bow on it. I guess my final question to you, since you tried the car sales for a while, if you never would have did coaching, and since car sales was not a thing for you, what do you think you would have did? Maybe educator, but like, what would you have done outside of coaching?
That's a great question, buddy. And you know what? To be quite honest with you, Marcus, I can't even consider, I can't even think about myself doing something other than being involved in football.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm to this afternoon, I'm helping build staffs, and I'm on the phone with some of the hottest coaches in America, and they're asking me about my experiences and the things, how I would, and I mean, holy cow, man. I mean,
That's awesome.
how how
Just a
exciting is it?
junkie, right? You've just been into it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's your thing.
no doubt about it, buddy.
No, that's awesome. Hey, I appreciate you sincerely, A, responding to the message, B, jumping on, C, telling your story. I mean, this has been phenomenal. I mean, a lot of great nuggets that hopefully whoever listens to this can take some stuff away.
Well, God bless you, Marcus. God bless the great game of football, man, and how blessed we are to be part of the game. And let's do everything we can, each and every coach, each and every player, to honor the game with how you go about your business. You know,
100%.
and absolutely, man. That's what I'm all about. Is I want to honor the game, and there's a right way and a wrong way. Okay, play hard, play tough, play physical. Okay, get off the couch. Okay, there's too many soft kids out there. There's too much. I mean, hey, let's go. Let's understand that football's an amazing game, and like I said, we got to play it the right way.
No, that's awesome. Coach Brew, I appreciate you taking the time, man. Sincerely.
Thank you so much, Marcus. God bless, man. Take care.